Okay, I'm going to show you guys some cool customizations here. I've got that ACR-J10 gel ball blaster. I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can swap the gearbox out and swap the motor out. So this is a fully upgraded gearbox. So it's already got all the metal gears and everything inside it. It's already got the new plunger. It's got everything done, new spring. Um, to me, that's just a really nice way to do it. You can certainly open up your gearbox and make those changes on your own. What I've found in my experience is when you go to put it back together, it can get super frustrating because things shift a little bit and it's very hard to get things to stay where they go as you're trying to shut it because there's a lot of springs involved. There's these different gears that can't move. So if you're really patient, certainly you can go that route. It probably saves you a little bit of money. But if you're looking at replacing everything anyway, you can get something like this fully upgraded gearbox from gelblastergun.com. So that's where this one's from, gelblastergun.com. And then so is the upgraded motor. So here's a fully, a very nice upgraded motor. So we should see when we change this out on the SCAR, significant changes in FPS, right? Because not only are we changing the gears, we're changing the spring, we're changing the plunger, everything's getting changed, the motor's getting upgraded. Really, we should see some big differences. So I just wanted to show you these pieces first, and then of course I'm going to show you when I do it as well. So obviously the motor's going to kind of go in there like that. These connections are just going to connect to the positive and the negative. So I'm just going to slide those on. And then, of course, we're going to remove the other one. So I'm going to make sure to do a video where you see it, after I take it apart. I'll take the other one out, that kind of thing. Here's an 11.1 volt battery. I'll put this link in there too. This is the ones that you can find on Amazon. But just to show you kind of, there you go. The motor's spinning, right? So just thought I'd show that to you quick. So again, gelblastergun.com, legit site. It does come from China. Some of this stuff is smaller, so it goes a little faster because they can airmail it at a reasonable price, but you're going to have to wait. I don't know of any US sites that are selling like completely modified, upgraded gearboxes like this. And this motor, actually specifically for the ACR, I can't find in the US either. So again, gelblastergun.com. So comments, questions, post them below. Of course, I'm going to do a series of videos with this upgrade, and I'll make one really long version, but I'll also post it in parts for those of you who prefer to watch it that way. So please like, comment, subscribe, and participate in the giveaways. Thanks. All right, we got the ACR-J10 here. You can see I've kind of taken it apart. I'm going to tell you everything I did, but I didn't think you'd want to watch me push a bunch of pins and unscrew a bunch of screws, so I went ahead and did a lot of it prior to starting the video. So what happened here is something went wrong with the original gearbox, and the motors are shredded, or the gears are shredded, excuse me. The motor's actually okay. So the guys at gelblastergun.com were nice enough to send me a fully upgraded gearbox. So this gearbox is already upgraded, has the metal gears, has the nozzle, has the spring, everything, and a big upgraded motor as well. So that's what we're going to end up doing here, swapping things out. So I've mentioned before in other videos, switching gears out is certainly something you can do on your own. What becomes cumbersome and annoying to me is when you try to put the gearbox back together to keep everything where it needs to stay and try to get it closed up. I just end up not having the patience for that or getting frustrated, and I just prefer not to do it. So my advice is, if you get one of these that's fully upgraded already, then we're just talking about switching out a gearbox and a motor. It becomes a lot easier project. You're still going to get all the benefits, right? It's just, might cost a little bit more, but I don't know. To me, it might be worth it as well. So the way the ACR-J10 comes apart is it's primarily these little push pins that are through areas like this, and that's what's holding everything on. Here you can see another hole. That's what's holding a lot of the shell of the blaster together, right? So once you basically pop all those out, there's really only a couple screws. So at the bottom here of the handle, this has 2 Phillips screws. Okay, and of course always make sure you're saving everything. You know, the mag release has a little Allen wrench that goes through it. There's a pin right here that you just push out as well. And that's about it. That'll help dismantle everything. You know, this slides up and off. So what you'll do then is you'll notice that it's still not going to come out, the gearbox. So if you look in here, and I'm sure it's hard to see, but there's 4 screws in there. So you got to reach in there and unscrew those screws. And actually the motor on this one is just sitting in the handle, and it's not actually connected. So the motor's in the handle, and it is just pushed in to the blaster, right? And then you shut that, you know, on it. So that's how that works. So here's the 4 little screw spots that the screw go into to hold the gearbox in place. So you got to get in there with a screwdriver and unscrew those. That lets you take this out. Of course, the motor is just going to come out right away by hand. You can just kind of take it out. So there's a couple little holes in that platform where the screws go in that allow you to feed these wires through. So that's why you see these right here as well. Obviously, the battery plug was here. I cut it off on this because I'd done a lot of splicing with it anyway. And to get it out of how I had it all entangled, that's what I needed to do. So with the new one, it's going to be pretty easy. You know, it really should be just a matter of snaking this down through here. You know, the hardest part is probably going to be lining these little pieces up with the holes that go through there. I'll probably have to use a needle nose pliers to do that. Maybe you can see it a little better this direction. You can kind of see in there some of the holes. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put that in through here. I'm going to drop this in through here, drop this through the other little slot that's for the positive. We'll flip it over. We're going to screw it down, and then we're going to push this new motor in there, and then we'll connect it right here. You got a negative and a positive. And these are just the little clips that are just going to clip on to the positive right there. You can see the red, and then your negative is this one that is not red, okay? And then we'll close it back up. So it should be fairly easy. As you can see here too, on this one, the barrel just comes right off, like it's not even connected to anything. So it's very easy to go ahead and just push it back in place when we put it back together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop the video now. I'm gonna put this gearbox in and the motor in, and then I'll start a video again where I show you some of the steps I've taken to put it back together. As you can see here, I got a mess going on. Didn't quite go as according to plan. Still worked out, but first time through, this is just really tight in here, and where the connections connect to the motor, they were bent, and so it ended up not having a good connection. So then I had to end up taking those off and soldering them. And just the reason why I'm not opening it up again is it was such a pain to get everything in there, but eventually I was able to do that, and I had to just add some wire and solder them. So as of right now, we're not having any issues. So that looks good. So I think everything is under control. You just had the 4 screws in there for the gearbox and then the motor. And then in my case, I just had to do a little extra work. So now I'm going to put this all back together, which, like I kind of mentioned earlier, there's, you know, this is just going to go right back on here. It just kind of pops down here. Oops, there we go, like that. So you get the nozzle on, and then this should just slide back in place. So you just kind of put everything back together. And like I said, this one actually has a lot of stuff that just uses those pins, those pressure kind of pins that just put it back in place. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all back together, hopefully without any issue. Typically, I have not had any problems with this one in the past, but so far I've had a little bad luck with it today, so who knows. But as you can see there, it's kind of lining up. Just kind of keep slowly putting it together. There we go. So those pieces should just line up. So there we go. Clip down. We're just going to push pins through here, pins through here. I need to slide this on first, so I actually have to slide this forward slightly, get that slid on there. But again, just all these different pins just go back in like this and this and this. So it is pretty easy to go ahead and put back together. So anyway, I'm going to work on putting that back together, and then hopefully I can show you a demo, and hopefully we're going to see a big change in FPS. All right, so we got my ACR-J10 here. This is the one where actually I did shred the gears on it, and I needed to replace the gearbox. So I replaced the whole gearbox and the motor, and that was from gelblastergun.com. So that's a nice, legit website. They are from China, so you do need to expect that shipping delay. But they sent me a full new gearbox that had metal gears and everything that was basically equivalent to the standard one, except with metal gears. So it should still, come out to about 240 FPS with that gearbox and the motor that they sent me. So I replaced the motor too. Other thing I'm just showing you right now is this is that Anstoy M4A1 drum mag that you can get on Amazon that will work with an ACR-J10. So just for those of you who didn't know that. So we're going to shoot it a little bit, and I'm still running into some problems. And the point of the video is just to show you that even when it's a relatively simple thing like replacing the gearbox, which doesn't seem like it should be that hard, there's some sort of suction loss, air loss at the nozzle. And the way this blaster is, it's really hard to kind of remedy that, or at least not really hard, but harder than I would like. So I haven't been able to yet. So it still shoots good, and it's hitting around 220 eventually, but it's kind of all over the place. So just thought I'd show you guys that a little bit. And then if we do the FPS here, it's just barely hitting 200. And that's nothing to do with the product from gelblastergun.com at all. It has to do with suction and air loss between the nozzle and basically that little T that connects the nozzle to the barrel. And the way this one works is it just kind of pushes in. It doesn't actually get affixed to the gearbox like it does in some others. So I'm gonna have to mess around with it a little more, but just kind of wanted to show you some of the frustrations that can come up when you're messing with these, and that you have to be aware of that. And it's not the product's fault necessarily. It's just the way that the install is with these. So don't expect these to be perfect. And that's true of when you're buying blasters brand new too. I mean, these are not always going to be perfect. All the blasters, regardless of the price, usually have some sort of nuances that can cause some issues. So just pay attention to that. Anyway, hopefully I'm going to get this figured out. I'm going to mess around with it a little more. Hopefully not get too frustrated. But again, go check out gelblastergun.com. They're definitely legit. All you got to worry about is waiting for that ship time from China. All right. So please like and subscribe and share this channel with your friends and participate in all the giveaways.